You have to start to learn how to soothe yourself without using food. Feel, embody the feeling of the type of person that you want to be. Visualization manifestation is one of the most powerful tools. So if you start believing I'm not an emotional eater, by doing that work and allowing neuroplasticity to do its thing, then you will most certainly stop being an emotional eater.
You actually have to learn how to push yourself. You have to learn how to leverage the power of your decisions, and you've got to learn how to take action when you don't feel like it.
Welcome to the 1 in a Million podcast with me, your host, Millie Cvjetkovic. This is your go-to destination for empowering conversations on mastering confidence in both body and mind. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of the 1 in a Million podcast. What I want to talk to you about today is something that got brought up in a conversation recently with one of my clients. We were having a catch-up call and she had mentioned about how she was becoming hyper-aware, pausing in the moment when she noticed that a craving came to mind, and she started to explore what she truly needed. Now, this then sparked my realization that I've become so far removed from the type of woman that I used to be, or even the type of child that I used to be, because what I struggled with since I can remember was using food as a crutch to make me feel better, use it as a reward. I almost punished myself with food. It was always there to make me happy. I emotionally ate since I can remember. And I eliminated that to an extent. When I say eliminate, I think what I mean is I learned to manage it to an extent where it feels like it almost doesn't exist anymore. It still does exist. And in all ways, I think those of us who have had a relationship with food where we do rely on it for comfort, that is something that we can never just banish, right? But we can learn to manage it so well that it no longer feels like it's something that is constantly at the forefront of our mind. So when my client had told me that she'd been really leaning into exploring those moments where she was thinking, okay, what do I need? What is this craving telling me? It transported me back to when I was 18 years old, and consistently each day I would go to the grocery store, the supermarket. I'd buy biscuits, cakes, donuts, chocolate. I'd buy so much and I'd go home and literally stuff myself with it, like a binge eating disorder. I would be at uni and, I'd secretly eat other people's food because I'd have eaten all of my own food, and then I'd go and eat other people's food. And I'd hide the wrappers under other rubbish in the bin so that people wouldn't see that I had eaten that food. I remember being mortified once when I was actually staying at a family member's house, and I'd eaten so much highly palatable food like ice creams, all these different chocolate wrappers, and I went and threw it in the bin, but I threw it in the wrong bin, right? And then they were taking the bins out and they discovered within this bin that there was all of this stuff, and they were like, I think I found your rubbish. And I just remember feeling so mortified because it's something that I hid for many years. And it wasn't until I first spoke about it that I got help. And I'm not just talking about extreme disordered binge eating, which is partially what I had, but that started off as emotional eating when I was a child. So over the years, I've done so much work, therapy, educational courses, my own personal development journey, but then also just educating so many different clients of different types of damaged relationships with food, to get to a point now where I've pretty much brainwashed myself to never, ever have an emotional connection really with food. And I mean an emotional connection which harms me. Of course, I love food, right? I'm a foodie. I am a foodie at heart, and I'm a gal that really does love to eat amazing tasting food. But what I mean is, food doesn't come into my mind as something that I need to celebrate, or as a reward, or as a treat, or as a punishment. It's only part of what I'm doing. For instance, if it's a Friday night, I'm just chilling by myself, maybe I'll cook myself a nice meal. Sometimes I might just stick to whatever I've meal prepped. If I'm seeing a friend and we decide that we're going to share an experience by sharing some food together, then that's amazing. But it's not like everything that I'm thinking about is about the food first, which it very much so used to be. Everything used to be led by my thoughts and feelings towards food. So I think the first thing that we have to consider is, why are we in this position where food is so important? The thing with food is we need it. We need it to survive. It plays such a pivotal role in our lives. It is literally survival. So we can't not think about food. But I'm talking to those of you who think about food all the time, or think about it way more than you want to, or find that the food is so closely connected to your emotions. We've got to think about, what is this food providing? And I've spoken about this before, but as a young child, I had a very unsafe and unstable home because I grew up with a schizophrenic mother. And that meant that one of the easiest things for me to access as a child that felt like safety, that felt like comfort, that felt soothing, was tasty food. And who knows, maybe it's something where it was developed from family members, loved ones saying like, oh, why don't you just have this? Like, why don't you just, have this chocolate bar, or have this to make you feel better? Serbian culture is very much so food oriented. So I wouldn't be surprised if my grandma's trained that into me when I was younger. But I just remember always growing up and using food as something that was soothing, or it would be something that I'd really look forward to, get home from school and like raid the chocolate cupboard. And I didn't like school. So it kind of makes sense that I came home and did something that I was looking forward to. So food for me meant comfort, safety, joy, relief. And that tells you everything about why you can end up having a real messed up relationship with food. It's so similar to other things in life, where even though sometimes we might see a friend or a loved one stay with an abusive partner, and we think, but why are they staying with something, or why are they spending time with someone that harms them, that is not good to them? It's because that person still somehow offers them some type of comfort, some type of safety, some type of joy. Even though on the whole that relationship is so toxic, they can't force themselves to leave because they're so hung up on the positivity that's there. And that was me in emotional eating for a lot of my life. Like, I couldn't bear to not indulge in food because it was all I had to bring me happiness. So assessing your relationship with food and what it provides to you is ultimately the first step in determining, why are you in a situation where your emotions are being, or your relationship with food is being ruled by your emotions. To unlink food from your emotions is not an overnight thing whatsoever. One of the easiest ways that we suggest to our clients that they do this over time, there is always that split moment where you have an impulse to eat something, or that thought pops into your mind. Like, there's that cake that's in the fridge, or there's that chocolate that's over here. And you'll find, like, a lot of the time, I'm speaking like from a perspective of sweet foods, because for me, I've got a sweet tooth. It was always those sweet foods that really felt like home and comforting. Some people might find savory foods. Another thing that is really interesting to talk about is the texture of foods. For me, whenever I would emotionally eat and go down quite a hole with those binging episodes, and even now, if the thought of, oh, I would like this, and then I kind of pause and I assess, why would I like that? Why do I need that? It tends to be crunchy foods. Foods with a certain type of texture might take us back to a certain time in our lives, or might just make us feel a certain type of way. So even when it comes to you thinking, okay, how am I going to unlink that impulse or that desire in that moment to go and eat that food? It's pausing and trying to elongate that time between thought and action. And it's really challenging to do, because most of the time that thought crops up of, I want to eat this, you eat it. And then afterwards you're like, oh, like, why did I do that? that didn't make me feel so good. So it's how can we elongate that time and even remove you from that environment where there is that access to food, and start to think about, what is this impulse that's coming up? Is this physical hunger, as in I'm feeling lightheaded, lethargic, like my blood sugar is low in energy, tired, my stomach is really grumbling? Those are all signs of physical hunger. And in fact, with physical hunger, if I put 5 carrots in front of you right now, if you were that hungry, you would devour those carrots. But I can promise you that when it comes to psychological or emotional hunger, where it's a fast impulse that comes on, you don't have a drop in energy or stomach grumbling associated with it. It tends to be an initial impulse and very specific type of food that you're desiring. If I said, oh, here's 5 carrots to eat, you'd be like, I don't want that. And that's because you're not physically hungry. You're psychologically hungry. And when you can determine that you're psychologically hungry, in that moment, it's about pausing before you take action and eat that food, and you start asking yourself, what do I need? What do I need to give me those emotions that will make me feel good? Because if food makes you feel safe, comforted, it's enjoyable, produces the dopamine, then we've got to think, okay, well, in that moment, why am I looking to feel those emotions? Maybe someone's upset you. Maybe something unfortunate has happened. Maybe you feel stressed. Maybe you feel worried. Maybe you feel anxious. And you have to start to learn how to soothe yourself without using food. And I think back to the younger version of me, the little Millie that was terrified because she lived in an unsafe home where she had the person that she loved and looked up to and was meant to be cared by, my mother. I saw her change in and out of really unstable mental states, and I never quite knew what I was going to experience or how I was going to be treated. I was looking for safety and for comfort and for some happiness. And I went to food because I wasn't getting that from my parent. And it's really sad when you think about, honestly, we are just wanting to feel calm, like we're wanting our nervous system to just be in a relaxed state. We just want to feel safe and okay. And we need to look at ourselves honestly and say, what would make me feel safe and happy and calm in this moment? And it might be a hug from the person that you're arguing with and reassurance that they do love you. Or it might be reassurance from your boss to say, you are doing a good enough job. You're doing a great job. You're doing amazingly. And this job is safe. It might be that you're told that a family member who's sick is going to be okay. But maybe you don't know that. Maybe you don't know that they're going to be okay. And that's all you want, but you can't get that. But you need to soothe yourself. So then maybe you just need someone to hold you. So when you look truly deep down at what you need, it tends to be an emotional need that you're just slapping a plaster on top and saying, food in this moment will make me feel better. Sometimes it's not just about the circumstances that we're dealing with, and it's actually about the fact that we're unfulfilled in life. Many people, myself included, have probably found themselves going down different trajectories in life where they're creating a life that they don't truly enjoy. The people in it, the job, where they live, how they spend their time. Maybe you don't actually like that. Maybe that's not the type of version of you that you want to be. And you end up feeling really unfulfilled. But you just wake up every single day in the rat race, repeating what you're doing. And then you find chronically you're just eating and eating and eating to try and make you feel happier. But it doesn't change the undertone of you're living that life because that's what your life is. So until you break the ice and it all fractures and fragments and you have to transform your life, and it's scary because you could be risking a lot to do that, you're never going to be able to get out of that pattern. So if you are a busy, career-driven woman and you know that your inability to lose the body fat that you want to lose is stopping you from living a confident, successful life, then hear me out. We have just launched our Fat Loss Accelerator program, which is made specifically for women who are constrained for time, yet they want to lose anywhere between 10 to 25 pounds of body weight within 90 days. Throughout this process, we're also going to teach you exactly what you need to know so that you can maintain this result forever, that it's the lifestyle changes and the habits that you need to implement for the rest of your life to finally become that confident and successful woman who excels in all areas of her life. So if you're interested in finding out more about our Fat Loss Accelerator program, then send me a message on Instagram. Send me the words Fat Loss Accelerator. My Instagram is millie @teamcbm. The link is in description below, and I will get back to you with all the information that you need to know. Back to the episode. The first thing that I would encourage you to do, and I'll leave a link in the description box, is to download the worksheet that I've got, which is a wheel of life. And you rank the different areas of your life: relationships, health, career, personal growth, finances, spirituality. You rank all of those areas in terms of how satisfied you are with them. And I remember doing this and feeling just so gutted when I was a teenager. Like, I had no money. I wasn't enjoying at the time my course at university. I was fat and overweight and unhealthy. I had some good friendships. I think that was the only thing that I had. I wasn't happy in one of the relationships that I had. And I just remember everything being so poorly rated. And I was like, and you wonder why you're just constantly binge eating. Well, it's because everything is shit and you're not enjoying your life. So you're going to have to change your health. You might have to change how you perceive your career or what you're doing for your career. You might have to work on your personal development and really just put in so much goddamn effort to change your life to be better. But when you change your life and you get rid of the people that don't serve you or the things that you don't truly want to do, you start leaning more into your passion and your purpose, your true calling in life. And you just feel so calm and so happy. You don't need the food to provide that comfort for you, because that comfort is within you. That happiness is within you. And it's the most incredible feeling, but a feeling that you will only know if you flip your life upside down, depending on that wheel of life, how many areas you need to work on developing. The way that you will feel motivated enough to take those risks and to do everything that you need to change in life is to spend so much time visualizing and feeling. When I say visualize, I don't just mean like imagine in your mind. I mean feel, embody the feeling of the type of person that you want to be. Let's say you want to be a millionaire, right? With me in this moment, step into the body of you when there is £1 million, dollars, whatever currency in your bank account. How do you feel? Do you feel excited? Do you feel calm? Do you feel safe? Do you feel secure? How does it feel? What's it bringing up for you? When you feel that and you spend time there and it gives you those emotions that are so positive, your actions become like a magnet to that future version of you. But the thing is, you have to repeat this. You have to do it often. You have to do it daily, as often as possible. It might even be imagining being in the most stable, happy, loving, calm relationship. How does that feel versus what you're dealing with at the moment? Whether that's loneliness, whether that's fear, whether that's inconsistency. When you imagine having what you've always wanted, because it is possible, but only if you take the actions that are required. And maybe if you've been in the situation where you've been living in a relationship where you're not getting what you want, and ultimately the journey is going to be to cut that off, to work on yourself, and then to go and find a partner that the future version of you deserves, well, guess what? It's going to feel scary because you know how much you have to do. But actually, by spending all that time feeling how amazing the future version of you feels when they're ultimately in love and in the best place ever, you're going to start taking the actions required. So visualization, manifestation, is one of the most powerful tools. And I used to spend a lot of time thinking about, imagine if I could wake up today and not binge eat. Imagine if I could wake up today and not constantly be thinking about food. Imagine if I could wake up and be in the fit, lean, athletic body that I'm so confident in, and I could walk around naked or in a bikini and feel absolutely amazing. I'm so happy to say to my younger version of me that I am truly there now. And it's the most amazing feeling, but I only got here because I spent all that time visualizing what it would feel like to get here. And I took the actions aligned with that. Instead of focusing solely on fat loss, start focusing on what your body needs from a nourishment perspective. If you're not nourishing your body with healthy foods and you're just eating less or restricting food or skipping meals, you're going to be just causing your hunger hormones to punch you in the face each day, and you're going to make this so much harder. So stop restricting, start thinking about how can I nourish my body, and that is going to absolutely put you in such a better position to be able to succeed with eliminating this emotional eating. You cannot restrict food significantly or skip meals or not give your body the energy and the health that it needs and expect that you're going to be able to stop overeating. This is the foundation of what we do with any client that is coming to us with an emotional eating problem, is we make sure that they're eating, and it could still be in a slight calorie deficit, maintenance, or even in a slight calorie deficit, but they're eating foods that they love, foods that are enjoyable, foods that are nourishing, and they're spreading those foods throughout the day. They're not eating less. They're probably eating more high quality foods. And as your body becomes less deprived of nutrients, you have more stable blood sugar levels, you're less likely to really give in to those urges. Because if you've got an emotional eating problem stacked with the fact that you're freaking hungry, it is just going to be a recipe for disaster. So please start thinking about nourishment instead of just about fat loss. Rewriting your inner dialogue of, I have never been able to get rid of emotional eating, is really important, because I thought I was destined to be a binge eater, destined to be an emotional eater. I'm going to be fat forever. Everyone in my family's fat. Like, rewiring that internal dialogue is essential. And it's the same thing with the visualization or the manifestation that I spoke about. Because if you say, I can and I will eliminate emotional eating, I am not a binge eater, I am dealing with my emotional eating problem and I'm getting better. If you say that constructively all the time, you're writing that in your journal each day, those affirmations start to literally change your beliefs and change your thought patterns. And if you need to go and find out a little bit more about rewiring your brain, rewiring your subconscious to literally integrate new beliefs into your brain, go and listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza. But there is scientific research that's backed again and again and again about how you can reprogram the subconscious mind to have new beliefs. And when those new beliefs are in place, you can achieve what you want to. So if you start believing I'm not an emotional eater, by doing that work and allowing neuroplasticity to do its thing, then you will most certainly stop being an emotional eater. Okay, so rewiring your inner dialogue is incredibly important. Visualizing what it feels like to be in that place where you have solved your issues is so important. When it comes to wins in life, things that are going well, don't consistently reward yourself with food. It can be a trick that you play on your mind to say, because I'm eating as a result of being happy, or this is a social occasion, it's fine that I'm having whatever I want because this is not an emotional eating problem because I'm eating from the fact that something negative has happened. I tricked myself into this a lot. I used to say, oh, but I'm happy. Oh, but I'm having this experience with friends, or, oh, but this is going well. And I would treat myself. You are not a dog. You do not need to treat yourself, because then again, just like you could have a negative relationship with, or you could have a relationship with food, which is when you experience negative emotion, you will go to food. Don't do the same for positive, because again, that is still an emotional tie to food. Just because something great happens does not mean that you deserve or should be rewarded with food. In fact, if something good happens, you can be like, wow, how incredible is that? How does it make me feel? That is amazing. Maybe I'd like to do something to celebrate. What can I do that's going to make me feel good? That would be a great way to celebrate. Calling a loved one, sharing an experience with a loved one. Maybe you purchase yourself something as well that is nice and that helps you to develop more in whatever the positive thing is. So let's say, for instance, you've got a promotion at work. Can you buy yourself something that is going to be novel and new and help you more at work? And that way you're even more excited to perform. So these are the things that I want you to think about when it comes to really acknowledging that your internal fulfillment needs to be there. You intrinsically need to be happy, and you need to acknowledge when you have to soothe yourself, but it can't come from food, okay? It can't come from food. Only you can provide that soothing to you, or your loved ones around you can as well, but you have to acknowledge it. And then putting actions into place, like pausing, counting down from 10, journaling about how will it make me feel if I eat this food? Is this food really the answer to the problem that I'm having? Do I really need this reward? Or do I really need this treat as food? Why is this going to benefit my life? Why will it hinder my life? There is so much work that has to be done in the mind to reprogram how you think, how you feel, to look at your internal happiness, to get rid of the reasons that you might emotionally eat. And it's not as complex for everyone, but this is a pretty broad spectrum of how I went from literally not being able to get my head out of a food cupboard, constantly overeating to the point of genuinely feeling like my stomach was going to explode for days on end, to now genuinely just seeing food as fuel and something that I might enjoy every so often because I can. And there is still some joy to be derived from food, but it's not my everything. If you truly feel like you need help with doing this and you need guidance because it's situational, every single situation where you have an emotional eating episode will have a different answer associated for how you need to approach it, how you need to resolve it, how you need to act the next time. But if you have no idea and it's getting you down to the point where it's affecting your health, it's affecting your digestion, it's affecting the way that you look, it's affecting your confidence, it's affecting, those levels of guilt and shame that you might feel. If this is something which is ruining your life, you have got to get a grasp of it. You've got to get a hold of it. And please just do a favor for me, which is what I did for myself. I went and had binge eating therapy. I went and got a coach that understood emotional eating, and it resolved it for me forever. I even have gone and educated myself since afterwards on how to treat binge eating and emotional eating disorders. So if you could use some support, please drop me a message, because I am truly just here to help get you out of this hole, because I know how debilitating it is. And I hope that you have taken away some positives from this episode, guys. If you haven't already, please drop the podcast a rating on Spotify, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I'd really, really, really appreciate it. And also, if you feel like this was really helpful and it could help someone else, please share it or send it to a loved one, because it allows me to help more people. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Much love.